Hello and welcome to Soups and Sabers. My name is Jordan. With me today, talking some Superman is Chris. How you take, Chris?
I'm doing very well. Anytime I get a chance to talk about this movie, I'm in my happy place.
And there was, I know we told people ahead of time Ron was going to be on this episode. He had to bail today, so he is taking it easy today. Just work schedule and all that kind of stuff didn't work out, but I was able to secure a third person today. And he's been on the podcast before. He actually just did our Fantastic Friday, launched that with us. But if people remember the Elseworld, when we were Elseworlds back in the day, he was like my second guest, I think. And it was when we talked Peacemaker, but it's Jack. How are you doing, Jack?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about this movie. It's interesting for me. I'll talk about my background with Superman and DC later. But yeah, it's interesting for sure, I think.
Yeah, and I think you are able to come to a fresh perspective of it that like offline when I was asking if you were interested, you're like, yeah, I don't know how much I'll be able to add as a non big DC fan, but I'm like, that's exactly why I want you on here. Really, like, I think it's fun because usually Ron kind of fills that role when it comes to like Superman. Like he likes Batman, but is not like super big on the rest of the DC universe. So we kind of get like that perspective. But so I think this should be a fun time. So I guess why don't we start? Chris was able to share his thoughts on the movie twice now with his spoiler-free review and the out-of-theater reaction with Ron. So, Jack, why don't you just kind of give us your background on DC and Superman and like what made you go see this movie? What finally, got you in the seat?
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't have a ton of experience with DC overall. Like growing up, I was way more into watching Marvel stuff. A lot of the first stuff I sort of watched superhero wise was, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, that cartoon, and stuff like that. And so I wasn't ever really that big into DC. I watched a few of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, but don't remember too much of them. And I watched Man of Steel, which I was like, I don't know if I like this that much. Maybe Superman isn't for me. And I played Injustice, and I saw Superman, and I was like, maybe he really isn't for me. I don't like this interpretation of him. And then I started getting on board with DC. Funny enough, Peacemaker was like the second ever DC project that I really engaged with because I watched the Suicide Squad on a plane and that to prepare to watch Peacemaker and watch that and loved it because it's James Gunn and I liked James Gunn's take on the Guardians. It's one of my favorite Marvel trilogies, some of my favorite Marvel characters. So seeing that he was on board got me in there. And now with Superman, I was originally not sure if I was gonna watch it because I was like, I watched Thunderbolts. I want to save money for Fantastic Four, like theater prices are expensive. So I wasn't quite sure if I was going to do it like right away or just wait. But then, I was talking with my grandma about this because my extended family was in town and wanted to see a movie. And, you know, at first they were going to see Jurassic World, and I was like, "Oh, too bad you're not waiting. There's Superman coming out if you're interested in that." And she's like, "Superman? There's a new Superman movie? Well, we have to see that." And so I ended up going with my grandma and two of my cousins to see it on Saturday. And let's just say I think that made me a DC fan. Like that I was already a pretty big fan of just you know some of the characters didn't really interact with any Justice League stuff, and then this comes along, and I'm like, and now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, where can I read about the Justice League? Where can I read more about Superman? Where can I read more about Mister Terrific, who I had no idea existed before this?
Oh yeah.
Uh, so I think it's a pretty awesome way to kick this off as someone who came into this skeptical about, like if I would care that much, but I do a lot. So much so, in fact, that I already have tickets for 2 more showings. So
2 more, not just tomorrow?
that's changed since I told you,
Oh my god, that's amazing.
and
That is really cool.
as well. So yeah, I had a bunch of vouchers that I could use for theater
Awesome.
tickets.
Okay.
So
Um, so if you don't mind me asking, how old is your grandma?
uh, now you're testing my memory here. I think she is 75 or 76.
Okay, so
76. Yeah.
around the age of my grandma too. Okay, so like, um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so they would have been, you know, in their 20s and 30s when the Reeve films came out. So I mean,
Yep.
that is like how old I am right now. So I mean, yeah, that's I can see why that might grab somebody, and why like maybe it may not seem like kids are as interested in it because of they haven't like you how you were not really interested in it because there was not an interpretation of the character during that time that you thought was interesting or
Yeah.
that you thought you liked. So
It was just dark and gritty. I am an evil god, Superman type interpretations is what I saw, because I saw Man of Steel, and I
yeah,
saw and Injustice, and Injustice's storyline is
yeah,
not the Superman that I've come to find out is how he's typically portrayed. Or
I
yeah,
think that is. Yeah, I forgot that we talked about Injustice back then too, because I was playing that game back then as well. I got it for free or like for $4 or something. But it was, I think that works fine in a game. I don't really like the interpretation that much when we get to like comics or film. A lot of times. Okay, so and real quick, how did the rest of the family like it? Were they all on board afterwards, or?
Uh, my youngest cousin was like, I didn't really understand what was happening, but I liked crypto, which fair. Um, and she's like, 13 or 14, so on the younger side. My older cousin that I had gone with, still younger than me in high school, he enjoyed it. My grandma was like, it didn't feel quite the same as Christopher Reeve, Superman, but she thought it was she had fun with it and thought it was a good message. So
That's what I was wondering. Like, okay, because my parents are going tomorrow. They know the Reeve films. They've watched Superman and Lois. They've seen Smallville. Like, they know quite a bit. They used to watch the animated series with me, all that kind of stuff. I tried to prep my mom. They also love the Guardians movies, right? Like
okay, yeah,
they we saw the Suicide Squad. I think that was a little too gruesome for them. Um, but I kind of prepped my mom like it's probably a little bit more sci-fi than you're thinking. Like it's not going to be Reeve-esque, right? Like that is
that
the
yeah
warning
that
I gave them.
that was my grandma's kind of like a hesitancy on getting on board with it, where it was like,
Yeah.
more sci-fi. And I even remember hearing immediately at the beginning, uh, we're allowed to do spoilers on this, yes, right?
Yes,
That's
yeah,
Oh
a
yeah.
good.
spoiler. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Right at the beginning, where it says Superman just lost a fight for the first time 3 minutes ago, or whatever, right? She was like, "Well, Superman doesn't lose," and it's like, and I was like, "Huh, okay." Maybe she might not enjoy this as much as I was thinking she would, but she was at the end was at least like, yeah, that was a good movie. She afterwards, I think she said she would have ranked it about a 6.5 out of 10, which,
Not
I
bad for a
mean,
grandma score, I
yeah,
think. I think
I'll
that's
for
good.
take it.
Yeah,
yeah, for
I'll
a
take
more
it.
sci-fi esque version of Superman, a little bit more comic booky. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, so I guess I'll share my thoughts. I haven't had a chance to do. I've been chomping at the bit to get on one of these podcasts to do so, but um, this is something we've been building to since the news came out. This is one of the I think in the first 7 episodes of Elseworlds, it was announced that he had taken, that he was taking over and writing a Superman movie. So you can actually track. There's a playlist on YouTube if people are curious that says Superman news, and I think there's also one for DCU news, and it goes all the way back to those announcements of James Gunn taking over with Peter Safran. So it's been a long time coming. I'm glad it's finally here. This is a movie that I think the more I think about it, the more I love it. I think I came out of it originally liking it, like really liking it, but I wouldn't know if I would have said love. I haven't had a chance to see it a second time, but just in conversations I've had with Ron and Chris in the chats, with Jack in our text messages, with people online, the more I think about stuff that happened in this, the more I love it. And I think it's in this weird thing where this is a character that has meant so much to me. I grew up watching him. That it's kind of similar to when I sit down and watch a Star Wars movie for the first time, because those movies mean a lot to me too. Like, I remember sitting in the theater with Force Awakens and like having the Star Wars logo came on, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And then it felt like the longest gap between that and then the Star Wars logo and the triumphant, trumpets and stuff of the John Williams score, that I was reading the scroll, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually reading a new opening crawl of a Star Wars movie. And that's kind of how it felt for this, especially because I think they did a really good job of not showing a lot of stuff in this movie. They in the trailers, a lot of it is in those first 30 minutes, and I wasn't really sure how it was going to open. I remembered once the words came up that somebody had spoiled that it opens with some sort of text. And I forgot all about that until I'm sitting in the theater and the text starts coming up. Oh yeah, this is how it's supposed to start. And I really like that, especially the 3 coming back multiple times in that text on the screen. But it was just one of those things where I'm sitting there like, I can't believe I'm watching a new Superman movie. So it kind of takes a bit for it to sink in. And I think since it sank in, it gets better and better. I can't wait to rewatch it because I think that'll help too. That usually helps with any like Star Wars movie that I rewatch or anything like that. But yeah, so it was a little bit of a bizarre situation for me where I'm watching it like, I can't believe this is real. But the castings were incredible. I think David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, who, by the way, if you go back to those playlist episodes when they were in talks of casting them, Chris and I, you were on board, right, Chris, for
Oh yeah,
Brosnahan? Yeah.
that was my favorite Lois, and
It was
Cornsweet I
between
didn't
her.
really know, but he was my preferred.
Yeah, it was between her and Emma Mackey, and we were both like, Brosnahan is the choice. And I think she proved that in this, and we also were both on the Cornsweet train. So
Mm-hmm.
we're part of why this is successful, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all because of us. James Gunn listened. But yeah, we were on board.
All right, Chris. Now, in case if somebody hasn't listened to the first 2
Mm-hmm.
episodes of your thoughts on the movie, what was just your overall thoughts before we dive deeper?
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get the feeling that I got leaving the theater the first time. I saw it on the Tuesday prime screening, IMAX. They didn't have the previews. It was just the audience was into it. There was applause at the end of the film. I mean, I've never seen an ovation at the end of a movie theater movie. You would have thought we were on Broadway, like just everyone was just hooping and hollering. We were all laughed together. um, it was just an incredible experience, other than people shuffling in the first 20 minutes with their flashlight trying to figure out what row it is. But like, it was just an unbelievable experience. And the second time I saw the movie, I had the same core feeling, but it wasn't the same experience. It's like, I'm never going to have that again. I love the movie more and more each time I see it, though, because it just is just a wonderful message. I think the idea that, kindness is the real punk rock is like just such a cool like way to put it. I think the stringing that thread together throughout the movie was beautiful. And I think this movie, I think the emotional beats are less hidden by laughter and action than you think they are. And I adore the movie. I adore the film. And more, I think Christopher Reeve probably would have loved this movie. And I think that David Cornsweet has a chance to be the greatest Superman of all time. And I think he's going to be the Superman for a generation. I think he is. I know I've seen some people say this is, you know, Marvel getting Robert Downey Jr. right in the beginning. This is that kind of a casting. I'm just so happy with this film. I think the thing that I love the most is Crypto, and I'm so excited for Supergirl. And I know that the Peacemaker is right around the corner, and it's just a really fun time to be a DC fan, and I feel really rewarded for the journey that we went on. So uh, I'm sky high. I think it's a 10 out of 10 film. I understand if you think it's an 8 out of 10. I can even see 7 out of 10. It'll be different for people, but when I see a negative review where people just totally hate it, I don't think we watch the same film. I don't know how it's possible. Like your grandmother score makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
But like I see some of these reviews where it's like, I hated it, I hated this, I hated that. I was like, my goodness, you made up your mind coming into this, is what I'm thinking. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people did that.
I
But
saw
I
a
love the film.
review. Yeah, sorry, I saw a review that literally said, "I don't think I this was a movie that was completely devoid of heart." And I saw that and I was like,
I don't know how you can think
I
that.
think you're
Yeah.
devoid of a heart, perhaps. Like if you're saying that, like I don't know how you like to your point where you said like the message of maybe kindness is the real punk rock, right? Like that. I texted this to Jordan and like one of my other friends who saw this, like just pushing past all of the cynicism, hatred, rage bait that happens all the time right now, right? That's what gives you power, success, and notoriety now. But
Hmm.
pushing against that is kindness, optimism, hope, right? Like it is the message that so many people need to hear right now. And it's perfect, right? I think it's perfect. And I scrolled through like TikTok afterwards and I see people like reacting to that using the punk rocker by why can't I think of
Teddy
the
bear.
name? The Teddy, yes. Yes, exactly. And now every time I think of that, I almost like I shed like a little tear, like thinking about that song, like from of joy, kind of like the same way. After seeing Guardians 3, hearing the Dog
Hmm.
Days Are Over,
Yep.
right, by Florence and the Machine, hearing that just gives me like this sense of hope, optimism, and fulfillment that like makes me want to put that optimism, hope, and joy back into the world. And it's like that's that's like kind of what I felt like I needed after, so much of what's happening in the world. And I mean, this is all it also rocks for me as like a political nerd, a political science, student, that this was like I mean, I think most media, all media is political. All superhero media especially is political, but this one felt like maybe the most overtly political superhero movie in a while. Like which I loved. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Um, so I guess real quick when we start diving into this stuff a little deeper here, um, the opening crawl as somebody that was not a DC fan, like a hardcore DC fan, was that enough information for you? I've seen some people say like, why aren't we introduced to these characters? But I feel like now, and this is where I also asked my wife this because like she's seen Smallville, she's seen some of the Arrowverse while I'm watching it in passing and stuff. But she doesn't like, and she watches like the Marvel movies, but she doesn't like know this stuff as in depth as I do. Um, I I asked her about the crawl if that was good, but I also asked her like, did you feel like you knew enough about the Justice Gang and all that? Because that's kind of a complaint I've seen where people say it feels like they're just kind of um the not given or introduction, but I feel like they have that like Will Reeve, Christopher Reeve's son, is kind of the one that I think that's talking about them like, hey, they're sponsored by Maxwell Lord and stuff. Like, did you get enough there in the context of the movie to kind of figure that out?
Yeah, I think I did. Like, I obviously went in with some information of like, I even asked you before I went to go see it, like, hey, what do I need to like?
Yeah.
Here's what I know. Is that sufficient to know? And I think I said, I know Crypto is a super dog. I know that Superman was sent to Earth from Krypton as it was being destroyed by his parents, and he was raised by the Kents in Kansas, and he's his weakness is kryptonite. And
Right.
I think that's what I said. That's what I know for the most part about Superman. Like, and you're like, yep, that's good. And I looked at that and I was like, I mean, yeah, there's obviously like stuff that there. I feel like kind of. I'm sure in like Marvel movies when I'm watching them, there's a bunch of stuff like that's referenced that people who have no clue about it are like, huh, what's that? And it's, but I think it gives enough context to understand things. Like, I mean, Iron Man in the MCU, kicking that off to parallel, right, introduces a ton of things that you don't know about necessarily if you're not like big into comics. Like Nick Fury introduces himself at the end of the movie, right, and it said, "I have a project ready," and just puts a dossier on the that just says, you know, like, isn't it just Project Avengers or something like that?
Avengers
Something like
Initiative. Yeah.
an Avengers Initiative, duh, right? How could I forget that? But like people who don't know the comics are like, what? Like, aren't immediately like, oh my god, the Avengers. They're like, huh? What are those? But
Right. Right.
I think here, like, it's enough where you're like, oh, they're like, the opening crawl tells you superheroes have been around for a while now at this point, and you know, it gives you metahumans in this universe.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, oh, this is a group of metahumans here that are, you know, that's that, you know, like I think that's enough to get enough out of it. I had no idea who two of those characters were before this. I knew Green Lantern, not that Green Lantern, but I knew of Green Lantern. No idea who Hawkgirl was, except that she was in Black Adam, maybe.
No,
Was it?
Hawkman was in Black Adam.
Hawkman was in Black Adam. Okay. I did not watch Black Adam, but and Mr. Terrific, no idea who he was, but you know what? Dude rocks. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's easily like the character that I think I like loved the most from the movie, honestly. Like that one shot fight sequence while 5 years time is playing.
Yes.
That's
By
good.
the way,
That's so good.
that song is perfect, but it's also like I don't know, it released like maybe 10, 15 years ago, and it was on my satellite radio. I used to listen to Alt Nation all the time or Pandora, and because of the music I listened to, that song would always be on the Pandora playlist. So hearing that on there, it took me back, man, and I was like, hell yeah, how does he find these songs? You get that, and then you mentioned the punk rocker song. After having that line set up and then ending it on that note, it's like I saw somebody talk about this, like his his skill at needle drops compared to like somebody probably would have just, the joke was always it was going to be Starman with by David Bowie for this, because that's what everybody always thinks of for some reason for Superman. And to get that like subverted where it's like, Gunn had said that for like months, like, we're not using Starman. And everybody kept thinking it was going to be in this movie for some reason. Like, I think they think too much with Guardians 1, which was very 70s and 80s coded because
Mm-hmm.
of when he got taken off. But like Gunn knows how to do this stuff. In Peacemaker, he did it. The Suicide Squad, he did it. I even just watched Super yesterday, and that opening theme song is like perfect for it, and also is in the style of the Peacemaker stuff, but drawn. It's animated. But like watching that opening scene to Super, like the credits, it was very like if you were watching the Peacemaker opening credits, but animated. So you could kind of see where he took that and then made it live action for Peacemaker, and I'm like, wow, okay, so I'm getting like little nuggets of him in this, but like that song fit perfectly after what he had already written in the script. And it's just such a good message, like you said, Jack, of we're all so cynical now. Like, maybe not individual people, but like just society as a whole. That, having that being kind is punk rock because it is so against the grain of what everybody's doing nowadays, right? So that such a good thing, and that song has been stuck in my head since I saw the movie back on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm literally walking around the house
Yeah.
alternating between the Williams score and that. It's just there's nothing else.
By the way, I read that the opening text was something that uh, did not exist in the film until late. Like in screenings in April, it did not have that opening text, is what a leaker said. And then also James Gunn in this interview I'm reading right here said that he didn't have it in the movie originally. So I think that is something that maybe when it was testing, people were kind of like, I'm feeling kind of lost here, and he put it in there. But I think it sets up the movie beautifully because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, when you then meet the Justice Gang, you're not like, who are these people? You're like, oh, these are the other metahumans that already exist. All right,
Mhm.
cool. Like, and then also just the fact that it ends with like 3 minutes ago he lost his first fight. You're like, all right, that's why, like, it's important to know that before he goes right back into the fray to fight again. But just knowing that it was his first loss is just a really cool moment too.
Yeah.
And I just love the symmetry of the three, like 3 centuries ago, 3 decades ago, 3 years
The rule of
ago,
three never fails.
3 hours ago,
One thing that was pointed out that I saw actually was that the one logical like step that's missing from like those time sequences is 3 months ago, which is then revealed later to be 3 months ago. Clark and Lois began dating,
That's a
right?
good
Like
point. I didn't think of that.
I
That's
because
perfect.
like someone pointed that out, and I was like, maybe it was intentional, maybe it wasn't, but it still is a cool detail nonetheless to like kind of point out like that three
Yeah, I'm not
just
sure how you fit that in there anyway. Like 3 months
right.
ago, Superman started dating Lois Lane. It's like, oh,
It doesn't
okay.
quite fit with everything else in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
3 days ago, he stopped a war. You're like, okay, this is kind of crazy here.
okay, interesting. Yeah, like yeah.
But no, I thought that was really cool. Okay, I guess let's dive a little deeper here into kind of like each character and some of the stuff that's going on here. One of the big twists of this, of course, is that he likes to listen to the soothing message of Bradley Cooper and his mom. What's her name? Angela Seraphan or Seraphan.
I believe
She was
that's
also
correct.
in
Yeah.
Westworld, which I knew her from. I think she may have been in another Gun project. I think there was some sort of thing there. But anyway, uh, they are Jor-El and Lara as they are, talking in this pleasantly soft tone as they are telling Kal-El about why they've sent him, all this great stuff. And he finds it soothing while he's getting fixed up by the Superman robots. And the twist, when Lex breaks into this fortress and the engineer gets their hands on it, they're able to uncover the second part of the message, which was damaged when the ship was damaged. And they say multiple times in this movie, it is a legitimate part of the message. This is not Lex playing games, which happens in a comic. It is not anything of the like. It is confirmed by linguists and all this stuff that this is actually what they're saying. And it mentions the rule over them if they don't, kind of bend down to you, and form a harem so you're able to have your seed spread across, like keep the family line going. And kind of a contentious, this is where the big controversies kind of come in with the movie, I would say. And I had actually heard rumors of this before I went in to see the movie, because of, I think, leaks, but also in the trailer, in one of the TV spots, he says the line to his dad, like, "I'm not who I thought I was," and people are like, "Oh, they're going this direction with it," which did happen in the comics at some point as well with the John Byrne run. But look, this has also happened in Smallville, right? Chris, you mentioned it on the out of theater reaction that there was a time in Smallville where Jor-El was more contentious with Clark and telling him to rule over them, and then he kind of backed off on that, and it ended up, he ended up training him and becoming Superman and all that. But so I guess I was already kind of like, I'm used to that at times, but I'm not against it either, because this is our fourth iteration of Superman on film, and it is the first one in movies that would go this route, and I just think that's more interesting than doing the same thing a million times. I also never was a big fan of the Man of Steel approach of it, where Jor-El is like, you are to show them how great you can be, and you will be the one to lead them by example and all that kind of stuff. Because the way I always thought of it is just two parents saving their kid and sending them off. But a lot of the Superman media does this. Smallville does it too, where they purposely pick Earth because of the yellow sun, knowing that it'll give him strength, knowing it'll make him a god among men, or they purposely pick the Kents, or they purposely pick, whatever.
Is like Smallville made it basically like he walked this earth before and just found the Kents. It's like, oh yeah, I knew his grandfather. That's
put those coordinates in. Put those coordinates.
Yeah.
I always think of it as these are two parents that are panicking, and I understand that as a father now, that are like, we gotta save our son. This is his last hope. We're just sending him off, and hopefully he lands somewhere safe. Like, that's kind of how I always pictured it. So I never really liked the idea of people kind of say it like the Christ-like thing, but it's not even that. It's like we're sending him to have powers and sending him to Earth, knowing that he's gonna. Because wouldn't they have all just left for Earth? That's where it kind of falls apart for me at times. But so I don't mind that. That's how this originally started, and then you get the twist of them like, no, you're going to be able to lord over them, and kind of this twist here. It does bring me some questions, but before we get to those questions, Jack, as somebody not as familiar with it, did the twist, did you realize it was a twist, or was it just kind of like, oh, that's something I didn't know about the Superman lore?
I asked you actually immediately after because I was like, I've seen people mad about a change to Superman's origin, and I was like, I don't know enough to know if it is a change, much less a good or a bad one. But I also think it was good because it sets up some interesting plot developments and some good lines later on, Pa Kent saying to him, what you filled in, or maybe it was Lois as well that also said it, but what you filled that message in with says a lot more about the person you are than what they wanted you to become. Yes. I think that's a really good plot element that gets added in. And then also just accepting that the person that he is today is yes, like genetics wise from his parents on Krypton, but also like the person and the human he is today. Because this is a story, like no matter what, about Superman and his innate humanity to him, right? Like he has the powers of a god, but in his soul he's a human, right? Like that. I think that's uh and I think it fits really well with that, and like showing like, despite what he was told that he needed to be, he and what his birth parents wanted from him, he found a way to become this role model, this person who was there to help and protect everyone, right? Like that's awesome. I really like that. I think it works. Some people I saw complaining like, "Oh, James Gunn trying to force another found family thing. How predictable." And it's like
That's a
it's like
stretch. That
yeah,
is
I think it's
like
a
the
stretch.
biggest
It's not
stretch in the world.
it's not found
Superman's
family.
already, but he's already an adopted kid.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's not like making
It,
it a found family thing.
yeah, that's not a
I
found family. They found him as a child, like a baby, and raised him. Like that's not that.
As Martha Kent says though in Smallville, we didn't find him, he found us. Anyway, the no, I think you're right because it's still like dealing with both sides of his parents because you have like you said the genetics. Um and what the Kents instilled in him, which is look, there's this whole I don't know why this is some big controversy because if anybody wants to read Red Sun, Superman Red Sun, read it. It's if he doesn't land in Kansas and lands in the Soviet Union, how different he turns out. So obviously it's not because of the L's that makes him who he is. It's because of the Kents. And uh like Pa Kent says, it's what you thought the message meant. It says more about you than what the message actually says. And I think that's interesting. It's way more interesting than having both sets of parents be like, "We love you, do the right thing," because in that case, it's like, all right. I mean, he would have just been the same person even on
Mhm.
Krypton. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It's
So
it's also much better than Man of Steel's Pa Kent and his message of like,
maybe,
hey, yeah, it's like, hey, maybe don't save people in trouble, and don't don't do that. Like, so I think I like I said, that's the only other live action Superman I
yeah,
really have a reference to. So comparing those two, I'm like, man, this one feels so much more compelling than I can just die, like that that
yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole thing. It's
Don't save
that
me.
it feels better to me.
It
I,
does.
I like the idea of with Superman. You can mess with Krypton because it's science fiction in the first place. It is the thing you can screw with and not change the story. I feel like the Kents are like Superman is the ultimate nurture versus nature
Yeah,
kind of an argument, and I feel like with
Mhm.
the Krypton stuff, I actually like the twist because it reinforces that Clark made a decision to be a good person. And I like the idea that Clark isn't put in a box. He put himself where he's supposed to be. And I think that's more powerful. I think it's also, I'm so tired of the Christ like, I'm here to save you thing because if you're paying attention to this world, nobody's going to follow anybody or anything. You
yeah,
have to be a positivity to me is about being an example do, by doing deciding what you want to be and doing it. But it doesn't mean you're going to have this huge effect on other people's behavior. I mean, they killed the kaiju, and it's like, gosh, I wish we could have saved him. But
right.
it's not like. And Hawk Girl kills the Baravia president. So I mean, it's he has an effect. They come to help in the moment of crisis, but it's not like he's this godly leader that's going to show them the light, and it it adds a layer of it of that just doesn't fit in the world that we're living in. I think this is a Superman that is relatable. I don't think we've had a Superman on screen be relatable since Christopher Reeve outside of television.
Yeah, television is where because you usually get a little bit more time with him. My main question with this now is how this is going to affect Supergirl and Kara, because in most media, she was a teenager when she leaves Krypton and gets lost in like a little bit of a wormhole, or something happens to her ship when she's in stasis, and then she ends up here after Clark has arrived. So, like, if they keep with that, right? Like, she will have known Jor-El and Lara, and she would have known that that was his purpose. So I think one way they avoid this is by having her off planet during this whole movie. So that way nobody's questioning, is Supergirl here to enslave us as well? Like, that question doesn't really come up because she's not really in the movie. Um, so I guess that's like something I have a question of, is how they're going to approach that, because it's either Krypton. It could be that Jor-El is not following what Krypton would have wanted anyway when he sends that message. It could be more, it's not a Krypton's evil. It could be a Jor-El is evil, or just maybe not even evil per se. I think it's more of a, like, we just want our family line to continue. You're going to be more powerful. Maybe that's how Krypton is like, hey, the most powerful person rules. Like, it may not be like as evil as it sounds in that regard, but it's just something that I'm really wondering if they'll ever address with Kara. Like, somebody mentioned that to her and she's like, oh no, like, that was just, my uncle was batshit or something, like, I don't know.
Well, that also could be why she's out partying, just
Right.
getting it out of her head. But I like the idea of maybe Zor-El playing the role that Jor-El usually plays, and then having Jor-El be your almost your General Zod, so we don't
Yeah.
retread some of that. Because I mean, we've had so much General Zod in Superman media. Like, if you need an evil Kryptonian, having Jor-El be that guy could be a pretty powerful twist. And I like the idea of Supergirl's family mattering more to the story. So that's something I would explore if I was James Gunn and Craig Gillespie, the director of Supergirl. But I'm really excited about Supergirl because I love Woman of Tomorrow, and they basically give you the first thought bubbles of Woman Tomorrow. Explaining, like, she likes to go get drunk on her 21st birthday under a red sun. Like, okay.
And that worked for me so much. Like, I know people are kind of trying to compare it to like setting up Supergirl, but I think it works for me more in this than like some other movies, because um it closes the loop on Crypto. So, like,
It
it doesn't
does.
feel like setup. It feels like a end of a story there, where it's like, oh, he was watching Crypto for her and she's taking him back home. So that closes the loop on Crypto's story in this movie. Like, it doesn't feel like setup. I think you can watch this and not know a Supergirl movie is coming and be like, oh, that was how Crypto exits the movie. Like,
And I love the endearing way that they played. I love oh, that's why they have behavioral problems. But like the idea that Crypto is Supergirl's warmth, because she seems to be a little more angsty and a little more
mhm.
feisty. But like, Crypto is probably going to be used to show her warmth, that's there under that crustier uh, attitude. So I think Crypto is going to be my favorite part of the DCU. I'm calling it now. It's my favorite part so far. I love Crypto. Crypto is so fun in this film. Um, it's funny. My dog is so very much like Crypto in the sense that she's not trained at all, but so well intentioned and so loyal that it tends to work out. And um, I think Crypto might be a little worse than my dog, but I love Crypto a lot.
Jack, any thoughts on the Supergirl little cameo and tying up Crypto's story?
Uh, I
or
know
crypto
I'm
at
gonna
all,
sound like
I
a
guess.
broken I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but I know very little about Supergirl. So I think it's cool to see like kind of the start of how that continues, and like it's also nice that I didn't have to wait through like 10 minutes of credits to see that it kind of just ends normally. Like that's cool, and I really did like Crypto in this, and the fact that he is a big part of this is super cool because the only recollection I really have of him in any media is there was like a cartoon that had like a theme song that I can think of, and I remember nothing else about the show. But that's about it. And I mean, like I was always like, oh, cool, a super dog. That's awesome. And now seeing him in this and like the way that he interacts with the plot is not like a superhero, but just like a dog, like that happens to have like superpowers. Like, yeah, I'm sure if a dog could fly, it would probably chase after anything that resembled a ball. Like that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, especially if they're not super well trained. Like, but very, very cute throughout it. Look like just also provided some good comedic relief in places. That's like although one of them is like one of the few moments where I'm like, I didn't like this part as much, like in the middle of the like sort of monologue at the end when Superman's confronting Lex and Crypto comes in
Oh.
and just like beats him up. I I oh,
Oh,
I
I love that.
there's a little part of me where I'm like, I can see why. Like I see the appeal to it. But also
It's my
like
favorite
I was
part.
like I was just thinking, I get it. I get it. But I at the same time I was like, oh man, this is such a cool monologue. But I'm also sure like that sort of monologue has happened in so many superhero movies as well. Like not even
Right.
just Superman, right? So I also understand the appeal of like cutting it with the like the joke and the humor in there is appealing and shakes things up. So I don't hate it. It didn't work as well for me. Like that is like the only part where I was like, man, I kind of wish that there was a little bit more to it. But also,
You wanted to punch Lex the whole
I
time.
can see the appeal where
So,
it's kind of just like, hey, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
I get it as well, but it's also like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wanted to punch Lex Luthor during the entire movie. So like, uh, I mean, he's I'm not gonna I mean he resembles us a lot of people in the world today. Maybe like
mhm.
a little bit like a certain CEO and of a car company and owner of a social media platform.
I
Just
brought that up in our other one. Yeah,
yeah, a
yeah.
little bit like that. Where and I mean, this movie also has the audacity to just say like, "Hey, tech billionaires maybe don't have everyone's best interests at heart." Like, which is like it. I feel like shouldn't be a radical idea, but is somehow a radical idea right now. Like the fact that hey, maybe they don't act altruistically, like that they are doing things that are dangerous to other things. Also, the whole thing about rage farming, like with instead of
The
AI
monkeys.
bots, like actual mind controlled monkeys in a pocket dimension. I just saw that and I was like, oh, I this has so many parallels right now to real life. Like it
Hashtag
looks
super shit.
different in real life, but yeah, like but that same stuff happens all the time in real life,
Yeah.
and it's just like wow, they really went there in all of this. And I know this is slightly off track, but that monologue at the end where it's just like I'm human just like the rest of you, especially right
Mhm.
now with anti-immigration rhetoric, so good, like so needed to hear, where like the main character in a blockbuster summer movie, a superhero movie, which like just saying everyone is human no matter what. Everyone loves, everyone gets sad, gets angry, but they still get up and try and do the right thing. And that's what makes people human. And that is our greatest strength. The fact that we all have that shared attribute, same experience. And I will say, I cried a little bit when that was happening. Like, I was hearing that and I was like, heck yeah, like, absolutely. Uh, that's right. Like, and also just makes me just I love that even more, just thinking about a lot of the conservative backlash to movie. Like, Fox News every single day has been airing something about how Superman is too woke and so terrible. Like, and it's like, Superman didn't change. I know that. Like, I don't know much about him,
Right.
but I know he didn't change. I know what his first appearances were like because I've seen that before. I've seen those comic panels. I know the history of the character, like how he was created.
Right.
So, like, he's always been political. He's always been against the things that you're saying. But now all of a sudden you're switching up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Also very applicable to the rage farming stuff,
Yeah.
very, very similar to it. But yeah,
Well, you had Jesse Waters saying he had MS-13 on his cape, and you're just like, they're not even being creative with it. Like, at least in
No.
at least in Superman, like they had evil monkeys like coming up with things that you could like realistically get people upset. Like, it's almost I always want to live in that world where that's the kind of stuff that could trigger people, because it's like they're not even creative in reality.
yeah. It's just like, how can we project hate into onto this right here? And it's like, yeah, I mean,
We
it's
need a buzzword,
wild.
MS-13.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm so glad that this movie came out now, right? Like, where
Mm-hmm.
it's because it just feels perfect. And I mean, the entire conflict too, like, obviously imperialism bad is a storyline that works anywhere in history, right? But against the backdrop of current international relations, I mean, yeah.
What's funny though is he wrote this before
I
October
know.
7th.
I
So
know,
it's just
and he even said, like, that wasn't the intention. It was just
right.
saying that Superman stands up for people who are in danger and are being oppressed by people who are wielding power
Yep.
in a way that hurts others, right? Like, that's the point that's being made. And but it's also like, you see that and you're like, it's wild that a Hollywood movie has the gall to, like, actually say full on, like, hey, maybe, like, just because someone's an ally to the country doesn't mean they're always doing the right thing, right?
Right.
Like, it calls into question, it doesn't have to be about, Russia and Ukraine or Israel and Palestine, right? It doesn't have to be about those things, but you can map that onto those. You can map it onto the U.S. in the Gulf War in the
Right.
'90s,
Right.
right? You can map it onto Vietnam, right? On Korea. It's a message that's happened several times, or a thing that's happened several times, and I think it's just awesome to see, like, a superhero movie stand up and say that sort of stuff, especially when I love a lot of MCU stuff, but I do have to admit there's a lot of, like, military industrial complex, somewhat of propaganda going on in there in those movies from time to time, in a way that didn't feel like that's what Superman was going for at all. And that was
Right.
refreshing. And I think part of why
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so much, honestly, because the political message felt refreshing and right.
And you could put as much political message to your point as you wanted to. Like, I feel like there's going to be people who are like, wait a second, that was political. It's just going to go right by them. But
Yeah,
I love about this movie that people who hate it for the wrong reasons are telling on themselves in the worst way.
exactly.
And it's really fun. It's like this movie is a great identifier of assholes. Um,
Yeah.
like it's the perfect, because there are people that I genuinely respect that don't love this movie, but they did it for a valid reason. It's kind of like a dog whistle. You hear when you hear it, you're like, no, that's not a valid reason. That's you're
Yep.
telling on yourself. I'm not talking about just disliking some of the humor or it feeling like this movie wasn't written for you. I'm talking about the people who are actively rooting against it because I don't know, it dared to say kindness is cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Like it's I think I agree though. Yeah, I saw it as super political, but someone could easily say like, "Oh, it was political," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I mean that's a fair takeaway." Like, yeah, you can map as much onto this as you want. Like,
Mhm.
if you want it to be escapism, there's enough sci-fi in there where you can be like, "Oh yeah, that's escapism." But if you want, like, if you're looking for it and you're like in the mindset of like, "Yeah, all media is political," then
Mhm.
then seeing all of this stuff and say and being like, oh wow, yeah, they're saying tech billionaires bad. Oh wow, yeah, they're saying maybe we shouldn't like maybe we should respect all people and immigration, it makes us better. And oh
Mhm.
yeah, they're saying that imperialism is bad, right? Like uh cool, like I mean like you can read into it as much as you want. And I just I love that. And I think like Captain America: The Winter Soldier is one of my favorite MCU movies because
Mhm.
I feel like it has very similar, like very direct political overtones,
Yeah,
which
about like, taking out everybody that is a threat to the country in the future. Not even that they've
yeah,
done anything yet, right? Like that kind of stuff is
yeah, and what defines a threat, what not,
right.
right? Like like that's awesome. Like I love when comic book movies are like, and I think what I adore about this movie though more than anything else is that it pushes a political message, like, but it isn't afraid to still be comic booky, right? Like it doesn't need to like be like this is 100% realistic, could happen in the real world.
Right, right.
Like it's not afraid to be comic booky and have like a giant kaiju battle with a space alien like in the middle of a city, or like have a black hole opening up underneath like ripping through reality, creating a dimensional rift, right? Like it's not afraid to do that kind of stuff. And it's like it's a perfect mix of like what I like about this medium, like that what I
Mhm.
love about the superhero genre, whether it's written or on screen. Like that is what I love when it doesn't sacrifice either side of that equation. And yeah, that's I really just applaud it and adore it for that.
A couple things I wanted to mention, because this was thankfully somebody has taken a picture of this finally. Because I'll tell you what drove me nuts. All right, we get to the scene in the Hall of Justice, and I see the mural on the wall, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's see who's on here. And I notice Wildcat pretty quickly. All right, so Wildcat is like a guy dressed in a cat outfit. He's like a boxer. Okay, but it
Okay.
doesn't land on it long. Okay, it goes,
The
and
third time I noticed it a lot more because I was looking for it.
yes, we get online afterwards, and I'm like in the message threads with everybody, and I'm like, I message, Chris and Ron, like, anybody see this JSA mural? Because I saw Wildcat, don't know who else is in it. I get on Reddit and I'm going through stuff, and people are like, "Hey, anybody see Wildcat in that mural? Anybody catch anybody else?" And people are like, "Oh, I saw Wildcat," and I'm like, "That's the only person anybody saw." I'm like, I'm going through and I'm like, "This is hysterical." I commented, I was like, "This is hysterical." Everybody's eyes immediately went to Wildcat. Nobody caught anybody else. Finally, somebody took a picture of this, and it'll be better once we actually have like a high def, like digital copy or Blu-ray or whatever, and then put who they think it is. And then they also shared like a picture of those characters from the comics, and some of them match. So also on this wall is Atomic Knight. He's like a guy with a uh, chrome knight outfit. in a shield with an atomic nuclear bomb on it or something, like puff of smoke with the atom
Yeah,
symbol.
yeah.
Then we had Freedom Beast, who I'm not too familiar with. Vibe as well. Vibe was in the Flash series, but this is a different look of Vibe. This is like comic book Vibe. Maybe Dr. Fate. Black Pirate is somebody that they found, and then also Jay Garrick's Flash looks to be on this mural as well. But just wanted to shout that out too, since people have been kind of looking for answers on who else we've seen on there. Those are the ones that people have been able to kind of nail down, which is cool. I love the JSA, so that's what I was looking for in there. And when I saw Wildcat, I was like, "Oh, this is a JSA." I was hoping for more of those. I thought I had saw Dr. Midnight, but I think it may have been Black Pirate. It's just a real quick thing. I think I was just wrong on who I saw. Hour Man or Dr. Midnight is who I thought it was. It looks like it might have been Black Pirate or somebody else, but still pretty cool seeing those characters on there. Okay, we also got Metamorpho in this movie. He had a really cool role with having his son, but also having to create the sun to give Superman his powers. And that's one thing I want to kind of shout out too, is the use of kryptonite in this was amazing, because he didn't instantly get better as soon as the kryptonite was gone. I think too many movies in this have done it, or even like, as much as I love Smallville, somebody will place a kryptonite rock on him and he's like seizing and like, oh my God, this is terrible. And he's so weak. And then somebody just moves it and throws it and he's up and he's punching again. And it's like a little too easy. I like the fact that he still had like the poisoning, even after he got powered up with the sun, he still had to go rest up. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, it was like a sun. He recreated the sun the best he could.
Yeah.
So I probably wasn't like a full restore like stepping out in sunlight would be.
Right. But even when he was out in the sun, he still had to go home and rest up and sleep and, kind of get through the kryptonite poisoning. So I thought that was really cool. And just my favorite scene of the whole movie is that kaiju fight and him saving so many people. Right?
And
like,
a
this
squirrel.
is what
And a
I
squirrel.
wanted. And a squirrel. Exactly. I was going to bring that up. He saves a dog. He saves a squirrel. He saves like 3 or 4 people throughout that scene. He also saves the lady in the car at the end when the buildings are falling. Like, we haven't had this too much in Superman media lately, of him just making saves, and that's one thing I really liked. And I like that we kind of get, if we look back at like the Raimi Spider-Man movies, of just heroes making saves, right? Like saving people from stuff. We haven't had a lot of that. And then also getting the nice flip of that with the civilians helping him as well. We had the guy that helps him out of the hole in the ground, but also is going to be the one that Lex captures and does Russian roulette with.
That
And
scene is rough.
it is. I really was shocked they went that far with him, like not being able to save him. But like the fact that he's also telling Superman, like, I don't blame you. Like, I don't have a family. Like, it's okay. I trust you, type of thing, was really heartbreaking. So again, seeing stuff like that, because that's what Superman means to people. He instills the hope in the everyday people, where that guy was able to kind of stand up and be like, it would made it so much harder for Clark if he's begging for his life, right? That maybe Clark would tell something, but because that guy has that bravery to say, look, I don't have a family, I don't have anybody that's going to miss me, like, don't worry about it, don't tell him anything. And then the fact that he gives him the credit, he's on the front page afterwards as being the real hero, was just a really touching moment for me too. And I'm like, that's Superman, right? And then of course, like you mentioned, Chris, when he's upset that they killed the kaiju, he's like, I wanted to take it to an intergalactic zoo. I want it to, you know, golly, there must be a better way, right? Like the way he says, like,
Mhm.
good gosh and golly in this movie is just absolutely perfect Superman. So really dug that. But those scenes were just the highlights of it
I
for
also
me.
like how much room there is for this universe because intergalactic zoo. Okay, there's a cosmic thing. Planets with red suns with bars in them. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Um, metahumans came 300 years ago. Okay, so we have so much room for stories before, after, and around that. Like James Gunn hasn't put himself in any boxes that he can't get himself out of, and the DC world feels lived in. And it's like you've already entered basically the idea of a cosmic world with Oa and the Green Lantern Corps and everything. So it's like you've done some from the start of the DCU. You did what it took Marvel so long to do, um, to set up like the parameters of their universe. I think that was genius, and I think it was subtle too. Like we talked about our final wish list, I wanted world building that mattered but didn't take over the story. I got that. I got that, and then some.
Yeah. Um, okay, I do want to get a little bit into some cons that I had in this movie. I wasn't big on Martha Kent. Okay.
Hmm.
Maybe a little too southern twang. I wasn't really sure how she was going to be. Like, I'm not familiar with the actress. I think she played the role fine. I think it was just a little jarring compared to Jonathan, because I think Jonathan Kent was outstanding in this. But that was a little bit of a con for me. Not enough Perry White and Daily Planet staff. I'm gonna sound like a Superman nerd there. I know Chris and Ron were kind of poking fun at that on the last episode, but I do
Yeah,
think I would have liked to see a little bit more Perry and a little bit more Beck Bennett as Steve Lombard. Those are and Cat Grant. I think seeing those three, when I saw them in the T Craft with Lois driving it in the ads, I thought that meant they were going to be a little bit bigger in the movie. So I think that's part of my problem as well. But
I totally think there's a cut of this film where they were more integral to
yeah,
the movie, but this movie just goes, and once it starts, it doesn't stop. I think no, I don't feel like anyone got shortchanged in the sense that there's no point for them being there. I think we
right,
got,
right, right.
I think we
Except
got
Ron
just the,
Troop. Ron Troop had nothing.
yeah,
He didn't even have a line, I don't think,
yeah, okay,
unfortunately. But
yeah,
yeah,
he, you got a point on that one. You got a real good point on that one. But I feel like I didn't leave this movie thinking, you know what would have made this better? More Daily Planet. I think it played a role to the story, and it's kind of like a video game with an open world map and all these side missions. It just played story mode, and
right, right. That's a
I,
good
I'm
point.
kind of I'm kind of okay with that because I feel like this movie, like people were so worried that this movie was too ambitious, but like once it started, it just kept going, and I think the pace of this movie, it was supposed to feel like a nonstop joyride, and I mean, I had so much fun. I, I would love to see a TV show based on the Daily Planet. Maybe Clark and Lois show up in the last episode or something. I'd love to see, especially with this Jimmy. I mean, my goodness, this Jimmy
Well,
is
it
so
sounds like we
fun.
might get a Jimmy show. So
I
Yeah,
I was not familiar with Jimmy Olsen and his game, I've got to say. Like
nobody
I
was.
I didn't know this. Like I only knew that he was just like a reporter at the Daily Planet. I had no concept of what that character really was because if I'm remembering correctly, his role in like the Zack Snyder Superman stuff is not super prominent.
he's not
But
existent. So what happens
oh,
is
okay.
there is a CIA agent who poses as Jimmy Olsen in BVS and gets shot and dead in the first 5 minutes of the movie. So
Oh, okay.
that's the extent of him in the Snyderverse. Then there's the weird Smallville histories of Jimmy Olsen, where Jimmy Olsen dies, and then it's revealed that his younger brother was actually
That's
Jimmy
the same
Olsen,
damn name.
and Jimmy Olsen was Henry James Olsen. So there was that fun little twist. And then
It's not fun. It's stupid.
there's the Jimmy Olsen in Superman and Lois, which is in one episode. And then you have Jimmy Olsen in the Supergirl series, which is like this real buff African American guy that is like very handsome, like not the typical Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, and he plays the defender. Like he's like,
Yeah, he
or the
becomes a
guardian.
hero.
Yeah, he's got like
Guardian,
this. He's got like this little black shield, and it's like, I am guardian, and it's like you all your friends have superpowers, but.
And then you have Jimmy Olsen in like the
Superman
refilms
Returns
and Superman Returns, but they don't give him enough to do. So really,
Yeah.
there hasn't been a real like fantastic Jimmy Olsen until now. But a fun thing is if they do a TV show, what I would call it is Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, which is the line of his comics. He has a comic line.
Oh,
And
okay.
when Jack Kirby was writing it, Jack, it actually introduced Darkseid. His first appearance in DC Comics was in a Jimmy Olsen issue. Okay,
What a trivia nugget.
That's insane to me to hear. That's like to me that sounds like if Thanos was introduced in like, I don't know, a Phil Coulson
yes,
like comic run or something,
or a
like
Madison,
that. I mean,
like a Madison comic run.
Yeah,
That's a great parallel.
Yeah.
That's funny.
My last big knock on this is something I didn't realize until after I got out of the theater, though. There was no shirt rip or quick change into the Superman stuff from Clark Kent. It doesn't knock it down any points for me, but just kind of like a missing, like a
I didn't
missed
realize it
opportunity.
until I heard it on podcasts, though.
Yeah,
And
missed
like,
opportunity.
But see, I didn't miss it. Like it didn't sour anything for me. But yeah, I think the only scene I would have taken out of this film is Martha screaming into the speakerphone from 30 feet away, and it's "Don't be a stranger."
I think that's the kind of. I don't think you can fully take it out because I think it's the kind of show that he is kind of distant from the Kents at this point because he's so busy doing Superman stuff. So I think that
there has to be a less annoying way to do that. But to quote Superman, good gosh, there has to be a better way to do this. But I
think they hide
a lot.
I think they hide the shirt rip thing by 2 times in this movie. They zoom into the crest while he's flying, and it feels like maybe because that's usually when you'd get the zoom into the crest is when he's shirt ripping. So it kind of feels like you get it with like when he's flying through the Arctic and then they zoom into the crest and it becomes the logo. And then when he's going into I think the kaiju battle, when he flies, it does a zoom into the crest. So
this is the best introduction like scene with like the logo and the best close with the logo like in a movie. It is so damn good. It's just so well made. I love this movie. I don't love Martha, but I did love the idea that like she calls Jonathan mush. I did like that a lot. I don't like Martha, and I think it's just because she annoys me. I wish that wasn't the case. But
you've seen this how many times already?
3
times. So it hasn't gotten any better for you on the Martha front each viewing. Because I think it'll be better for me next viewing because I know how she is now. Like I didn't really see any of her footage except for when she says "I'll get your boots," and it doesn't have that much of a twang as much as the rest of her scenes. So it kind of took me.
But that scene with the cell phone, I think, bothers me for a couple reasons. But like old people at the grocery store do that with their cell phones all the time. And like they use them as walkie-talkies. Oh no, fine. Realistically annoyed. it's just such a like it's so painful to me to see somebody use a cell phone that way. It's an aggravating act. But look, I have a 10 out of 10 on this movie. It doesn't ruin the enjoyment at all. It's just if I was going to make this movie, it is not a choice I would have made.
Yeah.
All right.
And Jordan, I was gonna say they can't have the changes like anymore because there's no more phone booths.
Well, you see, this
Like,
is a
come on,
DC universe. It's not realistic. So you could, if there's
You,
aliens, there can be phone booths still.
you could get away with phone
I feel
booths.
like those exist on different ends of the technology spectrum.
I think you
I,
could also do a change in like a closet or I don't know. Like he
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
in
I'm just
somewhere and
joking. I'm just
comes
joking.
out. But yeah, no, I've
but
seen that too.
but it is kind of stupid in Superman and Lois where like he finds a phone booth at one point, and it's like, or
But you
like he
see,
just like
yeah, like I don't know. Smallville was still at that time where phone booths were a thing, so there that happened in it a few times. But yeah, it's not as common nowadays, right? So, um,
like they're relics in like Ted Mosby's apartment
yeah, exactly.
now.
Really want to shout out to Maxwell Lord. We only get the one line from him, but it's a great line of the conservatives and conservatives and liberals can agree that they hate Lex Luthor, that Lex Luthor is awful. So
Liberals and conservatives can agree on one thing: Lex Luthor sucks.
there you go. There's the line. But you didn't get a chance to see the post credit scenes, right, Jack? Because you left early.
No, I did not. I did see them later on. I saw the one with Superman and Crypto looking over the Earth. I did see
Okay.
that one. I did see the second one afterwards. Like someone had posted it online somewhere, and uh, I think it's really funny because the way someone explained it is, it almost feels like James Gunn saying like to anyone who's like, well, this isn't exactly like how I like this isn't perfect and this isn't exactly how I would have done it. And it's just like what more do you want me to do, man?
I also
I
just
think
love
it's
that
kind of
Superman
like
thinks he's a jerk. He's like, I can be such a jerk sometimes.
yeah.
It's like,
I saw it and I was
Gene,
like, this is funny. And also it's more Mr. Terrific, and that's great. It's terrific,
I
one might say.
second that. Um,
if you want more Mr. Terrific, he has a comic line recently called The Terrifics that you could probably find. He has a team, Metamorphose on the team as well. So there's a little bit of synergy with that too. But um, yeah, another show I will always talk highly of for people to check out is Stargirl. I love the JSA, so of course I would say that. But it also it started as a DC Universe show, which was their streaming platform, then moved to CW, but doesn't feel very CW in that regard. Each season is a plot line. Um, it's not like episodic type things. And then it's written by Jeff Johns as the showrunner, and he wrote the comics. So it feels, very legit, and it had a higher budget, I think, and the costumes are fantastic. So if people are listening and want to know more about Wildcat, who's on the walls of that mural, JSA, the
um,
Stargirl show is where you go.
Justice League Unlimited is also a really good place for Wildcat.
Yes, yeah, there you go. The cartoon also features a lot of those characters. Yeah, all right, so we'll start wrapping it up here. Any other last thoughts before we head out?
Oh, I just remembered something that I'm not sure, Chris, if you've seen this as well, but I was on my way back from the theater. I wanted to listen to some of the music from this, right? From the movie. And what I found when I searched Superman on Spotify was that James Gunn did a collaboration with them in which he made a playlist for each major character in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the whole thing is like Spotify like analyzes what you listen to and then puts your character that they think your music taste is most like on the cover. And I didn't know that until I got home because I was just listening to it in my car. And I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. It thinks I'm like Superman and Clark Kent. I feel great about this.
It did the
And
same
then
thing to me. Yeah.
and then I told Jordan about it, and Jordan, you want to share who your music taste was most like?
I'll preface this with that I don't have Spotify Premium, so I don't
Yeah,
listen to Spotify a lot, but I got
that
Lex
is true.
Luthor. Though if I look at the Clark Kent playlist, it has some of the songs I have on my iPhone, so I
I
want to
know.
preface that.
I think you got done dirty by the fact that you don't have premium there. It's
I
they're
I
gatekeeping you from the
That's
from
why
the
they gave
truth.
me Luther. They're like, you're evil because you don't have
yeah.
premium.
Um I thought you were gonna I was gonna be the Sparty pants and say, I think you got Eve Tessmacher. but
No, yeah.
yeah, dude, that was a cool collaboration. Some of the playlists are pretty cool, so I'm all for it. One thing I
I've
wanted to
had the
say,
Superman one on repeat. It's so
uh,
good. The
yeah,
music on there is so good.
one of the things I wanted to say is I thought Metamorpho had so much range in this that I really hope we see a lot more of him. I like that line to at the end where he's like, Justice Gang, that's a cool name. That guy's just like he's a
He's in, yeah.
it was one of like and the other line that I loved is I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific. I was just like,
Yes, exactly.
this guy is so smooth and cool. Like he could have a master class on how to be cool, and I would never get it down. It's just he's so awesome.
He needs a faster garage though. He does need that.
Yeah.
I've been
He
working
hasn't figured that out yet. He hasn't figured that out yet.
on it. That's actually probably the funniest line of the. You have a flying saucer. You don't have a faster garage door. That is a funny line.
Maybe he doesn't usually have to go somewhere in a rush. So I guess that's I don't know, he's a hero, so maybe but he's got the little armchair thing too. So I mean that could be
Uh,
what he's
I
doing
I
instead.
love how Lois is like, sure, it's intuitive, sure.
Alrighty.
I,
Well,
I Lois was great in this movie, by the way. She's
she
fantastic.
was. Yeah. No, she's
Everyone,
great.
everyone's perfectly cast. We didn't even
Hmm.
talk about Lex Luthor and how like perfectly villainous and diabolical he is. Like he is just a professional hater, and I mean like he's literally
My
like jar and pour is nothing. I did this because I hate you, Superman. Like it's just like if that's not the most comic book like thing, I don't know much about Superman comic books,
well,
but I know that
yeah.
that feels like a comic book thing where the villain's just like, I despise you. That's why I did this, man.
Well, I think it's funny because Clark is like, well, you're just jealous, and he goes, no, duh, I'm not dim. I know that I'm filled with envy, and envy controls my every action. And that monologue was great, but I love the mug. He keeps dropping the mugs. Pick that up. And then he keeps dropping more. It's just, at that point, I was like, this is Lex Luthor. This,
Yeah,
he is such a
if you like this Lex, All Star Superman, the comic
very much
or
so.
the animated film is pretty much just what Nicholas Holt said he was told to read too. But it is pretty much
Hmm.
that Lex to a T. So they did a good job with pulling that. Same thing. The Superman robots are very All Star Superman coded as
And I
well.
liked how narcissistic he was to at the end. He said, it doesn't matter today. The government gave me the ability to kill you. If not now, then later. And then Crypto's like, are you sure about that, buddy? Um, but I just love how like he's such a narcissist to the end. Um, he's spinning until the end. And I loved that he got taken down so completely, and I kind of wonder if maybe we get because James Gunn said Luthor Corp leaves room for Lionel. Kind of wonder if maybe Lionel comes back to Luthor Corp or he's doing things from the jail. Remember, Cersei is in Belle Reve. There's a lot
From
of
Creature Commandos, yeah.
yes, there's a lot of stuff we can do here. Um, I just really, really. want this to be like a continuation when it comes to Lex.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he'll be back. They pretty much said that. I think Peter Safran said that Lex has a big role in the DCU, so he'll be back. And uh, Gunn said, Superman is going to be seen within the next 2 years, and then we also have the rumor of Mr. Terrific show, which I think is what he was referring to when he said he was writing something right now. Is I feel like it's almost like when he was writing, doing the Suicide Squad, and then really loved working with Cena and then did Peacemaker. I think he had a great time working with Edie Gathegi and, going and was like, all right, let's do something Mr. Terrific then. And I think that's where we're going to be going, which Superman can appear in, of course, but we'll see.
Can't wait. I love it.
I mean, I'll also say final thing about Lex Luthor that I loved. He programmed he watched 2,000 fights or whatever and
Yeah.
programmed so many fight moves. The code for the first code 1A that he programmed is literally just punch him in the face. Like that was the first thing. He was like that was the very first thing that he programmed.
What
a? Yeah.
What a
like that, I like how he was just like, I could go with something more complicated, but no. The first thing is just punch him in the face. Like that's the first place I'm going. And it's like that's a true hater. That really is. Like he really is just a hater. Like
I did love the moment where he's doing the whole 1A barrage and Clark just smiles and he's like brain over brawn and he whistles and Crypto's in this pet toy shop and, and then Crypto comes in. Crypto, get the toy. Awesome, this wonderful moment. I did though in my in the previous show I did say I think the greatest Superman moment or the greatest Superman feat on film is him beating Ultraman and the engineer at the baseball field and flying up and finding a way when he was basically dead to rights. I think that is the most impressive Superman feat on film.
that was a really cool scene. Because I was even like, I have no idea how he gets out of this. And then I just saw that and I was like, okay, this is so cool. He's just getting beat up as much as possible. His entire body is covered in these nanites, and he still just pushes through it. Like
there's
awesome.
always a way. I think
Yeah.
one of the undercurrent tones in this movie is there's always another way.
Yeah.
And I that is Clark to a T. That is Superman to a T. And I keep saying Clark and I keep saying Superman because to me they're so blended in this movie, and it's just I kind of wanted that. I love that, and it's just sweet. Kindness is the new punk rock, people. Let's go. Let's go.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Jack, for coming on and talking some Superman. I hope you enjoy your next two showings that you got coming up here. I'm hoping I can get out to it sometime before Fantastic Four or
Seeing
something.
it tomorrow night.
Yeah, Chris is going back again, so we'll have some more coverage of the movie, of course, and then we're preparing for Fantastic Four as well. So make sure you follow us here at Supes and Sabers on all of our social medias. Thank you all for watching along or listening along, and have a great rest of your day. And like Chris said, kindness is the new punk rock. So there you go.